Do you have a message, product, or service that is near and dear to your heart? You've been wanting to say it as you think it can help others. Maybe you're afraid to speak up in a meeting at work, afraid of what others might say. Maybe you're afraid to launch your book or your website, afraid of the criticism you might get from others, fearing that dreaded one-star review from a customer. Welcome to Tuesdays with Tony. Today I want to explore another dimension of the artist's dilemma of artists trying to put themselves out there and the forces acting against them. That is, opening up your hearts with a warm, loving intent to share your gifts, products, or services you believe others can benefit from, and then having to potentially face this cold criticism of consumers in a pixelated form. We're going to simplify the transaction of art so you can focus on what is most important, continually creating it. You will take away from this video at the end the equation for good communication so you can just focus on the art. We need more creating for engaging in meaningful conversations in the world today. I've been an engineer for more than a decade now in various aerospace and automotive manufacturing facilities. The science doesn't change from one building to the next. What does change is how people communicate the work. What does change is the feedback on the process, the feedback on the parts shipped out, and the reviews of the services and products by the customers. And as much as I love engineering and science, there is more to just simply transacting variables through equations to get from A to B in solving problems. This is where the concepts of art comes in, as these transactions can feel cold at times. You can warm it up. I know the goal in engineering is to make good products and provide exceptional service using science, but that's like saying to a soccer player the goal is to score more goals than the other team. We need to be more specific as to what we focus on, and the customer review isn't the entire focus. This review is similar to the feedback of losing the soccer game by one goal. That isn't enough to always improve upon in the season. First off, some of you might not consider yourself as an artist in the traditional sense of the word. However, Seth Godin, the author of Linchpin, states that art is simply emotional labor. When we put our emotions into our work or play, we're doing art. It's a gift, as Seth puts it. So art isn't just painting or sculpting, it's how someone uses the mouse and the keyboard in the work they do. Anyone can pick up a part on an assembly line or send an email. However, it is not only the skilled worker that can do that, but also how they add their own style, their personal flair to doing it amidst all the other forces at play in the workplace. I'm not talking about grinning and over-exaggerating when doing your work with a big smile. I'm talking about a genuine sense of expression. From this perspective, you're an artist. You all are. So let's take a look at the simple transaction of communication of sharing these gifts today to better understand where the potential sources of fear and criticism are coming from. In simple form, there's the sender and the message, the receiver, and the potential review of the entire process. So let's look at the first component of the sender and the message. Today more than ever, we have a voice to the world. Online access grants us to a gateway into the potential of reaching out to an audience that is willing to listen to what we have to say. Sometimes when you want to share what is closest to your heart from a warm, loving place, you're sometimes met with the cold, harsh reality of the world. And this can rattle you and freeze you, still not wanting to produce or say anymore. Recently, I had my second book roasted over supposed choppy sections. At first, I was in a state of shock, as someone with seemingly little concern of how they were presenting this feedback to me might offend me. Then I realized how much I've grown in the process of sharing myself and my work. I first reminded myself I had gone to numerous editors to polish it. Is it perfect? Of course not. There is no piece of art out there that is. It won't solve everyone's problems either, resolving the work-life equation and not letting life pass you by. But I didn't seek from the beginning this outrageous expectation that it would. But I read Don't Let Life Pass You By, Win the Game of Work and Play once the book was done, and had a professional editing service edit it. It made an impact on one early reader, and at that point I felt it could help others as well. I've also come to realize that if you believe one review, you have to believe them all. So my view of feedback isn't that I don't listen to it or ignore it. I would like to believe that this person criticizing my book had every good intention of trying to improve the book. It clearly spoke to him, even if it did agitate some of the ways he thought about writing in life. But instead of dwelling on discovering whether it was true or not, I focus on the simple transaction of communication. I try to focus on my message and continually craft it, continually shaping it, learning the skill of making art, putting my emotional labor into the work. But first, I believe that the sender and the message must come from a good place of intent. As I learned in a drum circle years ago, whatever you intend to play, make the group sound better. Whatever you intend to share with others, intend to make the collective sound better. You want to tell someone they're wrong or teach them something new? That's okay, but can you do it with good intent? Can you craft such a message that when received makes the person want to do it and not necessarily come back at you ready to punch you in the face? I wanted to punch that guy in the face for his message back to me. I kept thinking, why doesn't he write a book? I don't see that he has. How does he take criticism if I roasted him? But that isn't the right energy to give back, because it is so personal and sharing what is on your mind or how you're feeling. It's vulnerable to open your heart to let others in. You want to make a change. That is why you're so passionate in wanting to share your message, and even that 1-star review. But it's beyond the stars you give something. It is really in the opportunity for the connection when all the stars align with that of the sender of the message with that of the receiver. And that is what we really should be shooting for. How can you make an impact on someone and make them sound better? So let's turn to the receiver. How should we receive other people's gifts? How should we receive their art? First, just admire it. It should be like an art gallery. It should create questions and discussions, generate ideas, thoughts. Why did they create it? You pay the admission for the art gallery knowing what you signed up for. It wasn't to go in and pick out the paintings to take home with you. It wasn't to go in and draw over the work with your own interpretation. I'm not preaching some kumbaya thing where we all hold hands and feel good about one another and give nothing but positive feedback. I'm not talking about simply admiring works of art with no engagement either. I'm talking about creating and maintaining this responsibility, this idea of respect towards someone that puts an effort to share their unique gifts to the world. But you might then ask, well, I'm paying for this. If I buy something, I expect it to be what I'm paying for. The perception of value today is an interesting conversation for sure. Maybe another video on that one as I explore that in my first book, The Impression of a Good Life, Finding Your Song and Dance. Gone are the days of bartering, and never will we pay for something with our love by hugging the salesman to buy our next car. But I still believe it's beyond that type of value of what something is worth, but should be towards the number one meaning of value, the standards in which we live by. One of my important standards in life? Respect. As a receiver of art and gifts and messages today, I'll ask myself, where is this person coming from? Where did they send it? Why did they send it? Why was I interested in this in the first place? Why was I willing to spend money on this? Did I get what I paid for? What does that expectation even mean? Now, if I don't like what I hear or the service isn't up to the expectations the company or product promised when I bought it, I politely will ask something like, I'm sorry, I might have overlooked something, but the shipment arrived with 2 Lego sets and I ordered 3. Or, thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts on my book. I can see your perspective of why you might consider this to be choppy. I also do a little reality check to myself when the emotions start to stir me up. Maybe I get a little jealous of why some books are doing better than others, or maybe I get a little angry when I see political protesters when my views are different than theirs. What if I put myself in their shoes? How can I see the world from their view as well as my own? That is the responsibility of the receiver. The review. People are going to have opinions, no doubt about it, and they should. This video isn't to say don't give reviews or not pay attention to them. Rather, it's about recognizing that a review doesn't have the same energy or effort in encapsulating the work that was put into it. Someone writing a 60,000-word book compared to a 20-word review does not take the same amount of effort. The entire star ranking of 1 to 5 is like a Likert scale, really. And all Likert scales are doing are trying to take these hard-to-operationalize variables and quantize them. Can't define how happy you are? Well, let's assign a number to it. Scale of 1 to 5. How happy are you? Now we can compute it in our transactions. But that seems ridiculous, because I was happy when I bought the shoes and put them on, 5-star review, but now that they've worn out and I'm no longer happy months later, 1 star? So does that average to a 3-star? This entire 5-star review thing is like giving someone 1 to 5 pieces of a puzzle to paint a complete picture based on that. It makes no sense. The puzzle was made with 1,000 pieces carefully crafted and selected to create the entire picture. Instead, it should be viewed like art, discussed and questions asked as to why the elements and creation was the way it was presented. But it makes sense to transact 1 to 5-star reviews in the online world of today. Combine that with the dwindling attention spans. Who has time to fully appreciate the work and effort someone has put into their art? It's sad when I see 1-star reviews, or any review really. It's not that I don't value people's opinions or their experiences, nor not give reviews when I feel the need to. It's that we are now defaulting to such black and white rankings of things in our lives. Something is good? Pass it and send it down the manufacturing line. Yet even as a quality manager in the aerospace industry, I get into discussions with the customers and their parts about the fit, form, and function. Sure, the part didn't meet the drawing requirement of plus or minus 1/1000th of an inch, but do your calculations in your finite element software and prove it will even make a difference to the aerodynamics on that scale. The point is, if it meets these requirements, then let's put it into service. One blemish on a surface that sees no stress to potentially crack is okay. The mechanical engineers designed the parts with added safety factors. It's just good common sense, and we need more of this than people's 2 cents sometimes. It's worth more. Remember, success is not good luck, it's good skills. Even though you might not see yourself as an artist, you are. If you add any amount of emotional labor to what you do, you're making art, as Seth Godin states. Take responsibility for your art and the art generated by those around you. Create a conversation beyond the reviews you give or receive for the work you do. Something is bad? Take a moment to understand where your frustrations are coming from. Did they intend to hurt you? What can you do to create a conversation that is continually worth having? Maybe you can design the product better. Maybe you can write a better book. Let it inspire you to continually make art.